Gary Boyson, Vunani Private Clients, is with us in studio for a look at the markets. I just get a feeling, Gary, listening to what Tamisha was telling us there, that it's the investors haven't quite clicked that this oil price decline is not because the global economy has had it, it's because there's more supply coming into the market. So it's almost like, if the demand had fallen out of bed, then you can understand all of this red. But if the supply, the reality is here, there's more supply in the market, and as a consequence of that, the oil price is falling, which actually has to be good news for most companies on earth.
No, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Other than oil companies, I mean, everyone should be rejoicing in the fact that we've got an oversupply of oil. The world is actually getting more wealthy. I mean, if you look at it, oil price obviously almost, heading towards below $50 a barrel on Brent. I mean, if we look in 2008, I mean, it did trade below $40 a barrel, but exactly what you're saying, that was on demand concerns, not on supply concerns. It's a completely different picture this time around. And I mean, this is, OPEC's price war with US shale producers that are causing this, and nothing to do with the global economy faltering. I mean, there's all sorts of different statistics on how oil prices affect GDP growth. But I think in the US it's meant to add 0.1% to GDP growth for every $10 that the oil falls.
You might have been on leave, but the third quarter GDP figures from America came out at a 5% annual rate. I can't remember when last South Africa grew at 5%, but there's the biggest economy on earth already starting to feel an impact of this lower oil price. And of course it got much stronger in the next quarter.
Yeah, I mean, the US economy has just been absolutely spectacular in the last 2 quarters. I mean, I think that's why we've seen a complete decoupling between the emerging markets and the developed markets, really led by the US economy. And I mean, on the back of that, we've seen a whole shift in the financial landscape as the stronger dollar has fed through. The wrapping up of the QE programs obviously has helped that as well. But definitely the US firing on all cylinders. And I mean, that is good for the world. That's good for everyone because I mean, we're an integrated global village these days, and it will improve things for everyone.
I saw at Melrose Arch, the Bidvest head office has got a sign up there saying, "We refuse to participate in the recession." It seems like Gary Boyson refuses to participate in the negativity on stock markets. For 2015. What do you think?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult, because you've always got to, also differentiate between stock markets and economic growth. They're very different. I mean, if you look at the South African situation, I mean, I can be very pessimistic on South Africa because, I mean, we've got, the rearing of our energy crisis again. I mean, Eskom, all the Eskom issues. I mean, last year we had huge issues, obviously with the labor strikes, especially at the platinum mines. On top of this, I mean, we've got a very, very weak currency. We've got massive risk. I mean, our credit, could potentially be cut to junk this year. I mean, there's a lot of very negative things. This, unfortunately, doesn't translate into a very bad market because a lot of our companies are multinational companies that have huge, revenue generating potential offshore. And the fact that we might, be in for another year of very lackluster, economic growth in South Africa definitely doesn't mean that our market's going to collapse or that we're not going to see a very good year on financial markets.
One of the things I do during holiday periods is brush up on the basics. So I've been reading about economists, reading Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, etc. And there's always been this fight, this battle between economists who think they know what's right for the economy and politicians who want to get voted into power. And it almost seems that you need to get the economy into a really bad state before the politicians who really just want to get voted back into power will change to fall more in line with the economists. Do you think we might be reaching that? All those bad factors or bad news factors that you brought up earlier?
I mean, the realm of economics and politics is so closely linked. I mean, you have economic theories of politics. The theory of the median voter, and I think if you look at it, I think in South Africa, I mean, we definitely are seeing a shift. I mean, we're seeing a much stronger opposition to the ANC. I mean, I don't want to talk politics, but I mean, everyone's got to remember, in the end of the day, that we are a democracy. If things do get very bad on the ground in South Africa, I mean, the democratic mechanism will work, and there will be a shift in power, and hopefully whoever takes power from there, will obviously improve things, economically speaking.
We've got a very interesting election coming up in Zambia, and it'll be intriguing to see how the Zambian population votes. That's coming up for a presidential election on the 20th, where the ruling president has implemented very harsh laws on the mining companies, and the opposition says, if I get in, I'll change them, and you'll get your jobs back.
Yeah.
And I guess those are the things that... Gary, just before we go on to the big winners and losers of the past year, SACoil came out with an announcement today. I see the share price was 31 cents. This was Greg Blank, the famous punter's favourite stock at one point in time. It was many, many times higher than this. Have they missed the boat?
Yeah, I was looking at that news announcement today. I mean, SACoil, they've really made this announcement almost at the worst time possible. Oil prices at a record low. I mean, I don't know what the future for an exploration company is when we have such a supply glut at the moment. But yeah, like you say, very much a punter stock. I mean, something that sits on a lot of little punty private client portfolios, and it'll be very interesting to see how this operation progresses.
In the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt, my goodness, find an easier place to go.
Talk about difficult business in South Africa.
Big winners of last year. Of the biggest stocks, Telkom 150% up. Many people are saying it's had its run.
I think for us, yeah, definitely. I mean, Viv, one of our analysts, was punting Telkom hard when it was down at sort of 11, 12 rand. I wish I'd listened to him back there, because Telkom had an absolutely spectacular year. I mean, I think the business has turned around. I think a lot of optimism coming into our fixed line operator, and being rewarded for I think some fairly good news around the company over the year.
The dream team. But would you be backing the dream team after such a rebound?
Like I say, I mean, you've got to look at the valuation on the company as well. I mean, after a run like that, I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more concrete evidence of profits returning before I'm buying into it for this year.
It seems to be a management play there. Also a management play with Neil Froneman at Sibanye. 83% gain in a market that wasn't really helpful to gold companies.
Absolutely spectacular. I think Neil Froneman's done an absolutely amazing job at Sibanye. I mean, when that unbundled from Gold Fields, everyone was sort of, oh, that's the rubbish that's left in South Africa. They've just taken South Deep, and Gold Fields has got all the good assets, and I remember CEO Gold Fields saying, they left a little bit of juice in the orange that they could perhaps squeeze out. But I think Neil Froneman's done an excellent job there, and I mean, the market's rewarding him. So I mean, a very, very impressive result for that company.
Again, one that you would stick with, or be looking to maybe take profits?
Gold miners for us have never been a favorite counter. I mean, the commodity prices are under a lot of pressure. I mean, I think as part of a diversified portfolio, you can have something like a Sibanye in there, especially when you get days like yesterday when you almost go limit down on the market. And then it's only the gold producers that are sort of stabilizing your portfolio. But as a punt, if I had to buy one share for next year, again, it probably wouldn't be a gold miner, especially after it's had a run like that.
What would it be?
It's always a difficult question. I mean, if I had to buy one share for next year, I'm probably going to go with Steinhoff ahead of their listing. I think their listing is going to be between May and July. They're going to list in Frankfurt. I think there's going to be a lot of interest around the company. I mean, most sell-side analysts have got forecasts, in excess of 80 rand a share there. You're going to pick it up, below 60. I think that's going to be a decent move. And if you get some momentum in that company as well, I mean, we think that the furniture retail in the Eurozone, especially with Mario Draghi now hinting strongly that there's going to be stimulus there. I think it's got a very bright future. I mean, we still think that in the next 5 to 7 years, it's going to be nipping at IKEA's heels and probably surpass it.
Well, they're looking to do that. You can be sure that Markus Jooster's merger with his good friend Christo Wiese hasn't been done without that as an intention. Just to close off on the winners of the year, Zeda and Astral. That's a sectoral play almost.
Yeah. Now, if you look at Astral, I mean, they, all the sort of the chicken, the poultry producers have had a stellar run, and that's mainly, again, it's almost a function of the fall in commodity prices, because it hasn't just been the metal prices, it's also been the maize prices, which is one of their biggest input costs. Then you sort of add to that we've obviously had all those EU tariffs coming in as well. We actually had then bird flu declared in, I think it was Netherlands, Germany, and the UK. So we had, just in the last 2 months of 2014, them bans. I mean, these companies were sitting suddenly from going, 2 years ago in one of the worst environments into, an absolute beautiful, easy place
so
to make money.
So who knows what 2015 will hold, but Gary Boyson has told us he likes Steinhoff. I don't think he's going to be far off on that one. It's a good company, special situation, listing offshore as its primary listing in Frankfurt. It's likely that there's going to be some new investors coming in there, and if they want your shares, well, make them pay for it. That was Gary Boyson, Vunani Private Clients.